Hello and welcome, guys, to this intriguing encounter between Jannik Sinner and Jiri Lehecka. It's been a while for me. I haven't been on Talking Tennis for a good number of weeks, but here I'm glad to be back and looking forward to this match, which comes in interesting circumstances. It's the first match for Jannik Sinner since it was made public that WADA was going to appeal against the decision regarding his doping case. I'm assuming that he already knew about this coming into, well, I think he already said that he knew about it before that was announced that it was going to come, but has that possibly affected his tennis so far in this tournament? Because he has dropped a set in each of his first two matches, which is perhaps not expected. Today he's up against a young player, talented player in Jiri Lehecka from Czechia, who has already come through two matches, and most notably against Bautista Agut in the second round from a set down. He's coming back from injury that he was out for a while after Madrid. He didn't come back until Cincinnati. He had a stress fracture in his vertebra, which meant that he could not play or actually practice for a while or even go to the gym. So the fact that he came back in Cincinnati and managed to get to the third round and even beat Daniil Medvedev tells us that this guy has still got the capabilities to perform well at the moment. And the match has just started. I've just seen Sinner serve, and he has won the first point of the match. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, as I said, Sinner, he's still favoured, here, strongly favoured to do well in this tournament and perhaps win the tournament. But yeah, having lost the first set in each of those last two matches, does that tell us something about how he is at the moment? I think for him, yeah, obviously it's a different opponent today. But he did come through in the end very well against Sifulin. He's coming to the net a lot and winning a lot of those points when he did come into net. And here we are, 15-all, Sinner and Lehecka. And we had an unforced error there into the net from Lehecka, so it's 30-15 to Jannik Sinner. Yeah, so talking about Jiri Lehecka, obviously, I said before he had a stress fracture in his vertebra, which meant that he couldn't actually play any tennis, and he had to just let that heal for a little while. Couldn't even do exercise, so that's obviously very detrimental for a tennis player to not be able to practice. But having come back and being able to sort of, that's a good result in Cincinnati where he managed to get to the third round. And then at the US Open, even getting to the third round there, losing to Andrei Rublev in straight sets. But of course, tough opponent in Rublev. And he did actually lose a couple of matches at the Davis Cup. He lost a tight match to Arthur Fils and then to Bautista Agut in Valencia, that Davis Cup tie. He lost that in straight sets, 6-7, 4-6, but then getting revenge against him in this tournament in the last round. So that would have felt good for him to be able to do that. And there was a backhand exchange there between Sinner and Lehecka, and Sinner came out on top, 40-30. So So of course we are in the Asian swing. I'm streaming here from Seoul, South Korea. So finally we've reached that part of the season where the tournaments are on at a nice time for me. 8:20 in the evening here. Just 1 hour ahead of Beijing. And that was an unreturned serve there. So Sinner is 1-love up. Good start for him. It isn't quite full there in the stadium. There's a decent crowd there, but it's not quite full. It's a Monday evening. Perhaps you maybe expect more when the number one player is playing. Of course, it might fill up a little bit on the next break, but I think it's a holiday. I've sort of heard in China this week. I don't know how that's going to affect the crowd sizes or not, but let's see what happens. And Lehecka serves, and it's a second serve. It's going to be a second serve. John's asking there, do you think Jannik will be affected by the case? Well, surprisingly, I mean, in his interviews, he doesn't seem that flustered, and he actually, you know, the way he's been handling his interviews have been, you know, he's been very calm and quite measured, and so far you give you the impression that he's actually handling this pretty well. And of course, results even throughout, you know, while he would have known this was going on, haven't been bad, have they? I mean, obviously he is number one in the world. But perhaps though, I mean, it would be normal. I mean, he's the kind of player, he doesn't give much away anyway. He's kind of talked about that himself, you know. But yeah, so for Sinner, I mean, to drop the first two sets, I did find that surprising in the first set in each of those first two matches, because obviously his form has been, you know, tremendous. I mean, yeah, he did drop that first set at the start of the US Open against Mackenzie McDonald, but he didn't look back after that once he got back into it, and, you know, obviously went all the way to the final and ended up winning the tournament more or less pretty easily. What is Lehecka's ceiling? That's a good question. I mean, well, we already talked about how he had that injury. I mean, he did get near the top 20. I think in January he reached his peak ranking, which is about 23 in the world. I mean, I do think he's got quite an exciting game. He's got a lot of talent, and probably, I mean, I do think he does have top 10 potential within him. Whether that means, you know, that he's going to be competing for some of the bigger titles like the Masters or even Slams, I'm not too sure about that. But, well, perhaps Masters tournaments, but I think he's going to be doing better on some of these quicker surfaces on the hard courts. But obviously he's got competition there, especially with a guy like Sinner about. So yeah, unfortunate for him, because, you know, he was in that sort of, yeah, reaching the peak, perhaps going to break the top 20. And I think, yeah, this sort of back problem developed and eventually had to take a few months out and miss the summer. But yeah, the fact that he can come back and in his first tournament back managed to beat Daniil Medvedev tells you about, you know, the base quality that he has in his game. So Dave saying, he said he'd be surprised if Lehecka breaks into the top 10. I have seen him break down mentally, some under pressure. Yeah, well, I do think, yeah, certainly top 20. I mean, he did get close, but I don't think top 10's unreasonable, but it can take time to get to that level of consistency. He's still young. He's only 22 years of age. And of course, it's, could be an exciting time for Czech men's tennis if he did manage to get up to the top 10 or achieve something like that, because we've also got another talented young Czech player in the form of Jakub Menšík, still only 18. But maybe disappointed a little bit, Jakub Menšík, since because he reached that final early in the year and really performed quite brilliantly. I think that was, he got to the final in that tournament just here in China, though he qualified and lost, though, in the first round to Francisco Cerundolo. Lehecka sending that ball wide, so we're still on serve, and it's 2-1 to Sinner. Yes, and also I was talking about Jakub Menšík. Yeah, it was back in Qatar and Doha. He went all the way to the final, beat Davidovich Fokina, Andy Murray, Andrei Rublev, and Gael Monfils, and lost out to Karen Khachanov in the final. I think he also did get an injury at some point, and then it's been a bit disappointing in terms of not being able to match those sorts of results. But yeah, I think he's actually just turned 19. I said he was 18. Yeah, just turned 19, but of course, long way to go for him in his career. We're asking, so we got Ugo Humber in the Tokyo final. John's asking if it rained there today. I'm not entirely sure if it's did it rain in Tokyo? I haven't actually been able to follow that today. I see that Olga Rune is about to serve and make it 3-2 in that other semi-final against Arthur Fils. So it could be Ugo Humber. Could be an all-French final if Arthur Fils gets through, although I'm kind of expecting Olga Rune to come through in that one. It's a good test here, this match, though, as well, for Jiri Lehecka to see, where he is in this game, sort of with his game. A few tournaments back since that injury, and yeah, good question there on Holger Rune, on your thoughts in 2024. Well, I mean, this has been a positive tournament for him. I mean, if he can actually go on and win it, that would be pretty good for him, considering what has been going on this year. I mean, forget, his run, Holger Rune's run, way back in 2 years ago, he came through and he won that tournament against Djokovic in the final again in Paris. He won the Paris Masters. That was quite an amazing run in terms of the players that he faced. But yeah, obviously, he certainly hasn't got close to matching that kind of performances, those kind of performances again. Or he did have some good slam runs. I would say, yeah, it's possible for Rune to get back. I do think, he's someone that should obviously be aiming for the top 10 and probably the top 5 again. He was up at the top 5, right? So and he will, in his mind, he would be wanting to get through and winning slams. But I do think it's possible, yes, that he could come back in next year and get back up to that sort of level again. It's been a difficult year for him, and when I was at the US Open, I actually saw his match against, who was it? He played Brandon Nakashima. That was right, in the first round. But yeah, tough. I mean, it's tough out there because I felt like Nakashima was just playing. Nakashima was just on fire in that match. I was up close to see him up close. I don't think I'd ever seen Nakashima play that well, and it was very difficult for Holger. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't quite at his best, but yeah. But I mean, obviously, now if you can come through and win this tournament in Tokyo, that would certainly bode well, and it's something to build on him, build on for next year. I mean, obviously, we've still got tournaments to go. We've got Shanghai coming up, a chance for him to impress there as well. And we've got a break point here for Jannik Sinner, and it is wide from Lehecka. So that means that Sinner is up 3-1. So it's a good start for Jannik. Jannik Sinner. Still number one in the world by quite some distance in terms of points. Surprisingly, we've got, perhaps surprisingly, if you weren't paying much attention, we've got Alex Zverev at number 2 in the rankings, despite having not won a slam. And of course, Carlos Alcaraz having won 2 slams below him. So far, in terms of... Oh, is Alcaraz back to 2 now? Okay. I missed that. Aye, so you mean he's back to 2 in the live ranking. So Alcaraz is still at number 3, but he will be back up to 2 after this tournament, right? Out. Yeah. Yeah, the Sinner going for the lob, and Lehecka can't quite control that backhand side volley, but difficult one. Yep, so far, not any obvious signs that the case that's hanging over him, the doping case, is affecting him so far. But I mean, early days, it's... of course, in the other match tomorrow in China, we've got a blockbuster match between number 2 seed Carlos Alcaraz and Daniil Medvedev. And that'll be scheduled, I think, about in the afternoon local time, about 4 p.m. or so. Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it though, I mean, surely it must be off-putting. I mean, I do wonder, like, whether, for Sinner, obviously he's got good lawyers and everything, and they'll be maybe kept him informed on maybe what they expect the likely outcome of how the case will go. But obviously, WADA's saying we're trying to get 1 or 2 years to get him banned for that long, and that's obviously quite a serious amount of time. And surely that, on some level, that's got to be worrying for you, and you've got to be on your mind. I mean, I've read a little bit. I know quite a bit about the case, but I can't say I'm an expert on all the legality or the technical aspects of it. But this is just purely, they're appealing just whether he's the no fault or negligence part of his case. And certainly, yeah, I mean, it really just comes down to opinion in that case of whether. Now, I know that other people try and bring other cases into it in terms of, like, the famous cases of other players, like, you hear like Simona Halep or Sharapova or any of these other players that have experienced doping cases, or other players that have. In this case, I mean, it's quite unusual in this one in the sense that they've deemed it as no fault or negligence, and it was because it was from him getting massaged, right? So in that situation, if it's if this is really what's happened, then he would have been getting a massage, but he wouldn't have known that there was anything. That he wasn't getting massaged with, like, he wouldn't have known what it was going into him. So on the other hand, I know that there's a tendency to say that you should be responsible of something that's in your system anyway, if it's found there. And of course, he has already been punished somewhat in terms of losing the points and prize money from that Indian Wells tournament, although that is lighter than many others have got in terms of punishment. I've got a question here asking about, have you watched Campagna Lee? Could be a good Davis Cup player for Korea in the future. I have seen him in some of the tournaments. He's always playing in the challengers on clay. He's still only like 19 or 20, right? Yeah, it's an interesting one because I don't think it's quite unusual because he's actually grew up in Spain, but he's half Korean, but chosen to represent Korea. But he didn't have much communication or much to do with the Korean Tennis Association. So, and yeah, he's not been selected for any of the Davis Cup teams so far. I mean, maybe that has been fair in terms of, because you've had other players probably ahead of him and Hong and Kwon but certainly I know that Kwon is supposed to be going for his military service anytime now. Hong is still around, and they're going to need someone else to step in. So he could be a player that's good for them, especially on the clay. But I think he can probably play on hard courts. I know Damien spoke to him and said that he's just choosing to focus on clay, but he can play on the hard court. So I do think he's a player, yeah, probably with top 100 potential maybe, but he's still, I think he's only in the 300s right now. So we've got Lehecka. He's at 40 love, but now it's at 40-15. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if he's a clay specialist, well, I mean, I think he can play on the hard courts as well, probably, but yeah, he's obviously best on clay. Sometimes, though, those Davis Cup ties, in terms of the qualifiers, they do play ties on clay, so that might be important. And then we get it to sort of 4-2. Lehecka holds. That was a good hold. Good game. Yeah, so I mean, we have a Korean player, Hyun Chung. He's just come back. I mean, he's way off it in terms of he's literally played one tournament, or no, two tournaments, and he lost in like the quarterfinals of an ITF tournament. So, but Davis Cup team could probably do with him. I think he's going to play a challenger in Taiwan this month, or sorry, next month. We're not in October yet. And then probably in Seoul, he's going to play the challenger. But it's been a good Asian swing for some of the Asian players in terms of we had a great run for Bu and Zhang Zhizhen, and then also Jerry Shang, of course, the title in Chengdu. And then, yeah, Bu has got through here and done extremely well. He's going to have to play Andrei Rublev later. That's a very exciting match for him, the quarterfinal. And then, of course, you had Nishikori come back, and he did play some great stuff, but obviously unfortunate for him to lose out to Holger Rune. I just don't think he quite had enough gas in the tank there. He had a chance to serve it out and get, take that match. And then, of course, you got, Naomi Osaka. I mean, she's been very impressive so far in the matches. I mean, I've been really impressed with how aggressive and how well she's been hitting. And then, you've got an amazing match coming up, or a very intriguing match between her and Coco Gauff tomorrow. So pretty interesting times at the moment. But he hasn't. He's been struggling really to, he's just playing ITFs mostly, I think. Let's talk about Zhang. Yeah, Zhang Qinwen. She's already up 5-2 in the first set against Podoroska. Obviously, this is her home tournament, massive for her, the 5th seed. And she looks to be doing well in that first match. The round of 32. And there's a second serve from Sinner, and the return is sent long by Lehecka. So another game point for Sinner. Doesn't look to be much problem for him so far in this match. Maria is asking, is it true Sinner is looking sick? Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe, but he often kind of just looks like he can look like that. I mean, of course, it was last year, right? And during the Asian Swing, was it in the same tournament where he actually threw up? And of course, he ended up doing excellently and winning the tournament, didn't he? And he had a great end to the year. So, yeah. So even if he's sick, I mean, obviously he's been in incredible form. It doesn't look like it's been bothering him Yep. So you've also got talking about Asian players. We had Zhang Shuai after losing 24 matches in a row, then winning 3 in a row, and doing it in some style as well. Not dropping a set and even beating Emma Navarro along the way. Great win against Minin yesterday, and she'll have to play the number 23 seed, Magdalena Fresh. So perhaps she has a chance to get to the quarterfinals. We've also got Badoza against Pagula tomorrow. Yeah, it's a good day on the women's side. Osaka and Goff. I said that before. Kalinskaya in the other match. And then, of course, Medvedev and Alcaraz. And that was the ball long from Lehecka. So not a great start here. He'd be hoping to hold and at least make Sinner serve it out, this first set. But that first serve goes in. And that was pacey deep forehand from Sinner, and it draws the error from Lehecka, who sends it long. It's at love 30. Oh, we got a question here. I might answer that in a bit as we head to the end of this set. Oh, it's a ball long, so it's 15:30. Unfortunately, yeah, the stream here isn't the quickest. It's just that I'm watching the tennis TV stream. The score board is actually ahead of mine when I look at the scoreboard on Google, but and I'm joined here, I think, by Zach. Can you hear me?
Eddie, how you doing, man? Thanks so much for having me on. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Am I being heard?
So we've got here 2 set points for Sinner, though. 15:40 on the Lehecka serve.
Eddie, our streams are a little bit out of sync here, so I'll do my best not to do any spoilers.
Okay.
I'm about a point ahead of you. No further comment at this time.
I think I can get it quicker at the moment. Right. Okay, I can hear you loud and clear. So we've never been on the stream together before.
It's our first time, and I'm stoked to be here with you, man. It looks like it has not been a particularly exciting match so far, but maybe in fact the points have been really good. There've been lots of deuces. I don't know. How's it been so far?
No, I mean, you've been more or less correct in terms of it's been pretty straightforward for Sinner. He hasn't been under too much pressure, and he's just been composed and clinical. He's not had to. It's been not much drama really, and okay, that's it there, and he's taking the set at 6-2. So really, he'll be more than happy with that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sort of speculating before. Obviously, it's a little difficult, the circumstances that he's in at the moment because of the whole doping case, the WADA appeal that was announced. I mean, he probably would have known, right? I think he already said that he's known a little bit in advance of it being announced, right? And
it's pretty remarkable, so I don't know whether isn't it? I mean, to be able to play at the level that he is with that swirling around him, and look, whether he's going to get in trouble or not, when the allegations get made, that has to, of course, impact. Like, if he's a human being, right? Of course, it impacts his psyche. I don't know how he's maintaining his level with all this.
Yeah, and I was saying before that just to be able to hear, you might that. Yeah, 1 or 2 years. That's what they said that he might. They're aiming for, right?
Yeah,
to get him to banned for that amount of time. That's crazy to me. I mean, that's
Oh, it's such a lose-lose.
Huge.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, like the fans lose if he's out because we don't want to not watch Jannik Sinner for a year to 2 years. But also if he doesn't get suspended or if it's a reduced sentence, it's going to look like it's unfair. And certainly Nick Kyrgios seems to be intent on driving the message that it is unfair, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? I mean, he's really like Kyrgios is really going in on Sinner.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can maybe. It's easier for him to do. He's not even playing tennis at the moment, right? He's not been playing for a long time. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, see, what I would say with these things is that it can seem on the surface that, you know, he was getting favorable treatment or whatever, but
yeah,
you know, there's a lot of legal technicalities in this, like this, and of course, he would have had. It seems like he had the best team and was best prepared.
Yeah,
to put a case together as quickly as possible. And then, of course, you know, you've got that one other Italian player that was the same substance, and of course, he's not anywhere near like as highly ranked, and of course, he managed to appeal and not get suspended, and his case was actually wrapped up quicker than Sinner's. But that's, you know, there's a lot of things that go into it. And then there's the technical details of the actual doping and itself, and I
see the chat is jumping here a little bit, and I just want to give a shout out to ATX Super Dave, one of the best coaches in the States, and there's a comment asking us what our thoughts are on tennis courts being turned into pickleball courts in the States. And so, do you mind if I just dive in on that one for a second here?
Yeah, sure, you can, because I don't know much about it.
So basically, I mean, tennis is booming in the United States. The tennis courts are in use. There is a growing number of players. That's fantastic. Pickleball also is growing. And so we're seeing more and more tennis courts being converted into mixed use, which I think is fine. But the thing that I don't like is when tennis courts are being converted exclusively into pickle. The one exception to that, all around the country, you've got 1 and 2 court sets. You can turn that into 8 pickleball courts. You're much better off taking a 1 and 2 court setup, turning it into 8 pickleball courts than you are taking 4 tennis courts or 6 tennis courts and converting them into half and half. I think the resources are there to build more of both, and I would encourage the USTA to do so. But it's definitely caused issues, at least where I live in Durham, North Carolina, where now there's not enough courts to go around for either tennis players or pickleball players. Eddie, what about where you're at? Is there a big pickleball movement happening there?
I'm actually in the East Asia, so I'm in Seoul, South Korea, and as far as I know, there's not much of a pickleball thing going on here at all. Although weirdly, I saw some post pop up about paddle, which was surprising to me. But I don't really think there's that much of it here. In terms of in the region, it did seem like I was in Thailand for vacation in January or something, and or December. But I remember there being pickleball courts there, so that was it seemed like it was a thing there. So it does seem like it's growing in certain parts of the world, and of course in the US. But it's kind of weird because it doesn't seem like a real competitor to tennis though. It's just it's quite a different game, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
I mean, I don't.
It's an activity.
Another,
right? Like tennis is a sport. Like the whole thing about tennis, it's great is it's hard. You get a great workout in. The whole thing about pickleball is it's fun. You can pick it up within 30 minutes and be playing competitive pickleball. That's why it's an activity, not a sport. You can play for 3 hours if you're 82 years old. That's not a sport, you know. I mean, it is less intensive than a round of golf, man. Like, and so, you know, I think it's great that people want to do it. My attitude is very much when I am unable to play tennis consistently, great, then I'll do pickleball, you know, get out there with the buds, you know, hit the ball around a little bit. But in terms of lifestyle, I would much rather be a tennis player because you just get a better workout from that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the difference in the levels of athleticism required to play tennis to a good level is ridiculous, actually. But
Yeah.
Especially
I mean, Jack
nowadays
Sock picked it up as a joke and is top 10 in the world now after like a couple of years.
Right.
As we're talking about this, by the way, I mean, Sinner seems to be on total cruise control. I think we got about 35 more minutes of match time here. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, he's just like he just makes it look so easy because he's just his consistency of ball in terms of just like, he might not even always hit winners, but he's just always hitting so hard and deep that it's just like it's just players can't deal with it. And someone was saying, try and target. What will you target? I mean, you can't. He's so good on both sides, really, and then forehand and backhand, and then
absolutely. And with Alcaraz, he's got the magic, and I'm not sure that Sinner does, but he might have the best rally ball we've ever seen. And so you don't have to be creative if you can hit the ball harder, deeper than every other player on the tour, and Sinner can do that off both wings.
Yeah, I mean, it defends well, but he's maybe not as spectacular. He's definitely not as spectacular as Alcaraz can be, but you don't have to be. And he's got much better at coming into the net. He's very good at that now. And if he does decide to play like that, and then serve is just sent that one wide though.
For a hacker like me, watching Alcaraz makes me worse at tennis because I have no business trying a single thing that he's doing as part of his strategy. The drop shots that are unpredictable, the spectacular around the net shots, all these things. No normal human being should even bother attempting that. Whereas you look at Sinner, and of course, no normal human being is going to hit the way that he does, but he's playing smart, high percentage tennis at all times. He's optimized, although he's spraying it a little bit here, so maybe we'll get a slightly closer second set.
Yeah, he looks a bit. Well, he's quite annoyed at himself there, clearly. Yeah, I mean, he defends well as well. He slides out.
Yeah,
the way he slides around the court and he gets it back.
Yep,
with
he's really spraying it though. In this,
Okay, I just seen that. Yeah, that was a wild return, and of course, the return is another aspect of his game, which has been ridiculous actually at times.
Oh yeah, I mean the percentage, the success rate or whatever on his return to serve is outrageous. This is the second time, by the way, that Lehecka and Sinner have played. They played earlier this year at Indian Wells, and it was 3-3. And so we'll see if Sinner can better his result at least. I saw Lehecka play actually at the Winston Open last year, and the guy is just a specimen. Like you if you saw him on the street, you'd be like, that guy might be a pro athlete. You might not know that he's tennis, but he's just like, he's so strong. Whereas Sinner might walk by you, and unless you know who he is, you might not have the same assumption.
Yeah, I was getting questions here about the military question. So, because obviously I'm in Korea and we've got Kwon, one of the players, is about to go and have to do his military service because he wasn't able to get an exemption by winning a medal. And I think he was just asking what's the opinion of it here. I mean, I think most men have had to go through it. So they kind of hear it's more or less, just accepted. Yeah, this is what men have to do. And it's like 18 months of service at least. And obviously it seems harsh for a player, in the middle of your career, having to be able to put through that. But like, I mean, it's what all the normal guys have to go through here. They often go at 18. I know that some players have actually, or sports people have started to do it, get it out of the way when they're 18, so they can just concentrate on their sports careers, and that seemed to have worked well for some of them. But yeah, the Korean player Hyun Jung, he was lucky enough to win his gold medal at the Asian Games in doubles when he was only 18. So he never had to do it. But yeah, so seems odd. I mean, because in many ways, like he won ATP titles. I could argue that's maybe more impressive than what Chung did. But Chung gets the exemption and then he doesn't. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But
in the States that several of my wife's friends were devastated when they learned about the service because of One Direction. They immediately developed strong feelings against. But I gotta tell you, I think any type of national service is fantastic. I think anything that gets any person to look at things as something bigger than themselves, to make a sacrifice, for the collective, for the greater good. I think it's a really fantastic thing, and I very much wish that we had something here, and I wish it was across all genders.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is sort of here is actually it's just the men who do it. I don't think, women don't do it, so it's kind of strange to me as well. But I mean, but I think maybe there's an argument to be had for that. But 18 months seems rather long to me, or potentially more than that. I think it was 20 months before, so that's quite a long time of your life, and I know that some other countries maybe they do it like 6 months or something like this, but
any amount of time,
like
any kind
Europe
of service,
and,
I think.
Yeah.
I see in the chat. Sorry, Eddie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's nice now that the ATP though have allowed those players that do it to get a protected ranking, because they didn't have that rule before. So it's like the same as if you get an injury. If you're out for at least 6 months, you do a military service, then you can get that protected ranking.
I see in some of the comments talking about how Sinner's becoming Djokovic 2.0, and I think that there is some truth to that. I'd say that they're stylistic cousins, and I feel like what I'm about to say is kind of blasphemous almost, but Sinner, it sounds different off his racket than Djokovic. He's got easier power. He's got easier pace. And, Djokovic, I think that his great strength is the guy just works. He works and works and works and works, and he grinds and grinds and grinds. And his mental game is so strong. But physically, I think Sinner might be even more talented than him, because he can do stuff with his rally ball that we just don't see out of Djokovic.
Yeah, right. I mean, there definitely are similarities in terms of just like how efficient they are with their game. But obviously Sinner, he does, like, the power that he gets on the ball is just next level. And also I think he's a bit different from Djokovic in the sense that he's a bit more proactive, I would say. But then Djokovic is, one of his big strengths was his amazing ability out in the corners, like to counter punch. Maybe Sinner doesn't have to do that as much, but then he also has that in his locker as well. So he can just absolutely smack the ball. And he might not even have to do anything particularly spectacular in terms of like maneuvering the ball around the court, but just pure consistency of ball that he just ends up winning the rally.
Really quickly, these outfits, by the way, are just absolutely trash. They are so boring and bland, and I don't understand why this is like the trend right now in tennis. I like the fit that Draper is rocking. I think is fantastic. It's a little louder. It's nicer. The fits are themselves, I mean, they're fine, but the color patterns here are a joke. I just like, I feel like we're going back to the Stone Ages of tennis fashion with what these guys are wearing.
So this Sinner's wearing the Nike. The Nike ones have been pretty boring, haven't they, recently?
Yeah.
And then what's Lehecka wearing? It's
Le Coq Sportif, which is a fantastic, albeit a little overpriced brand. They make good products. They run a little small if you're a big fella like me, as sometimes the French brands do, but just boring color patterns, man. The shoes are the most exciting thing about the outfit there, and they got like a dash of red.
You mentioned Draper. What is he wearing? What is the brand? Is he also Nike, or
I think so. Yeah, so he's got a little bit more of a relaxed fit, and then the color palettes are just much brighter and I think a little bit more fun. Then again, Center's the one getting results. So maybe there's something to the blandness.
Just less distractions.
Yeah. No frills tennis, the center way. There is something to be said about, like, you look at what center wears, you look at what Alcaraz. There we go. Yeah. Check this out. Like, that's that's pretty drippy right there. The shooter sleeve too. I'm sure that's for medical reasons, but it does look kind of sick.
Draper wears it quite baggy as well.
Yeah. Draper's a stud, man. The dude's problem isn't his level. It's just he can't stay healthy. Oh, look at this. Yeah. We're checking in on Fields versus Rune here.
Yeah,
Eddie, you ever get out to any tournaments here around your way?
Yeah, I mean, most recently we just had the tournament in Seoul, the WTA tournament, the 500. Which didn't go quite as well as the organizers wanted to, because all the top 10 players pulled out.
You guys taking a few matches though?
Yeah, it did. It coincided with a holiday here, so actually ended up
nice.
Yeah, I got to see quite a bit. And then I've been to. I also went to the US Open, by the way, but that was great. But I managed to. I've been to Tokyo.
Gotta represent. Oh.
I went to Tokyo, and that was the last tournament I think in Asia outside of Korea that I went to. Been to some challengers here in Korea as well. Tokyo was great. I mean, Tokyo's a nice place to visit anyway, but the complex there is good. It's a nice stadium, good court, and several years ago I actually went to the Shanghai Masters.
Wow,
that was good as well. So,
what's the best venue that you've been to?
The best venue?
Yeah. Like, great example, like Ash Stadium. While it's very cool to be there, in my opinion, it's not a great venue because you're so far away. Depending on the seats you're sitting, it's not the best tennis viewing experience. Even though the aura is something to behold.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to be in there, but then it's almost too big, and unless it's completely full, it just feels like it echoes. The sound echoes. It doesn't feel that good. Yeah, I had a much better experience on the Louis Armstrong. Actually, I thought that was a nicer experience for sure. And then I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I actually really liked. I was fortunate enough to go to Rod Laver as well. I thought that was a good stadium actually. And that was fun. I got to see Serena Williams play, and that was one of her. She lost actually that day, but that was good. I mean, I think when I was at the Shanghai, that was pretty good, but I feel like it wasn't completely full during the weekend. It was, but then during the week it wasn't. But I wouldn't say it wasn't my favorite arena.
Yeah. In my experience, if it's a 500 and up and it's empty or it's not full, it kind of detracts from the experience. If it's like a 250 or below and it's not full, it's like, all right, cool. I'll sit in the second row, for a $35 ticket here or whatever. So like when I've gone, 3 years in a row now, which is a 250 and about an hour and a half away from me, it's just easy. You get a beer, you go in and out, you sit real close. Actually, speaking of Arthur Fields, saw him play there for the first time. Actually seen him the last 2 years. And he's one of those guys that when you see him in person, the talent really, really jumps out even more, I think, than on TV. But then I look at like the City Open or the US Open, and it's a cool experience. But if you're there for the early rounds, and in an empty stadium and half empty court or whatever, it's like, what can you do? I agree. By the way, Louis Armstrong is the better deal than than Arthur Ashe.
It's also newer, so like it feels like I remember the facilities just are newer, and then Arthur Ashe is just.
So what do you think
that,
yeah. Hmm? What do you think is going on in Sinner's head in these moments? I look at him and I just think, that guy is able to just shut out the world when he's on a tennis court. And I wonder if part of why he's playing so well is because it's the only place where he's able to do that anymore. You know, like he's got to be thinking about the stuff around him all the time. And on a court, it feels to me like it is his happy place, his quiet place where it all goes away for an hour or two.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's still, if you have that off court, I mean, I think for most players, you would expect it to, you know, if you the difficulties off court can sometimes come out on the tennis court, you know, those stresses, I think it's just natural. But then, I mean, I guess he's already, I mean, he's in a good place anyway in terms of his tennis. Then maybe it's easier for him to just be able to switch off and do that. But yeah, I mean, obviously just having won, you know, he holds 2 slams right now and he's number 1 in the world. I just also think it helps probably though that in terms of, you know, just ability, there's really no one coming close at the moment other than say Alcaraz, right? So perhaps Medvedev, but he's going to avoid him in this tournament. So I mean until the final.
Alcaraz. Are you going to watch the King 6 or the 6 Kings tournament or whatever it is? Have you been following that?
I saw the trailer thing, which was ridiculous to be honest. But
I hated it too.
I mean, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah. If
it was so over the top. Actually, because.
Sorry, I think we got a little bit of lag, but if by some miracle Nadal and Djokovic end up playing each other, which is not going to happen, I would probably watch that, but that's really the only thing that I'd find interesting.
Yeah, I think because was it a few years ago we had an exhibition. I can't remember what it was. Where do we have the one in the Middle East? The other exhibition we had it around the same time in December. I mean, I remember Murray played Nadal, and I just tuned in because we were never going to have another chance probably to see them play in some sort of competitive way. But yeah, I mean, so it might be good to see Nadal against Djokovic. But in terms of the rest, I don't see that much interest for me because it's just, it's you know, it's not the same, and
it's an exhibition.
If it happens to be on TV and I'm at home and it's just there, maybe I'll watch it for a bit, but then I'm not going to go out of my way and be like, you know, I'm not going to probably watch it to be honest. But it's when is it exactly?
I don't even know, man. I got to really quickly though. I got to shout out 86 Super Dave. I think I might have accidentally stolen his comment here, which is that Sinner goes to a happy place. Dave's tennis insights are always a pleasure. I also see in the chat here that I need to watch more challengers, which is the most fun level of tennis. And I agree. It really is. I mean, it's not just the most fun level of tennis, it's the best value. One kind of wrinkle to living in the States is we have very high level collegiate tennis. And so where I live in the Triangle, a part of North Carolina, we've got the Duke team within 10 minutes of my house. We get the UNC team within 25 minutes, the NC State team within 30. And so players like Diana Schneider played for NC State, come through, you know, for a year or two. UNC and Duke have both been, you know, in the national championship hunt over the years. And that's another great way to watch high level tennis. And so if you ever find yourself in the States and you want to, like, a lot of times it's free, really, really good high level tennis, college is a great place to go.
Yeah. And I think in some places people don't even realize that it's on. But yeah, I mean, you can go down, some of these tournaments can be free, or they, you know, if you have to pay for a ticket, it's not expensive usually. So it's great value. And of course, you're just going to you'll get a good seat. You're not going to be anything like Arthur Ashe or anything. So it's good though. I mean, the level of tennis is often, you know, it's not a great deal different especially the higher level challengers from on the main tour. And that there was the final yesterday, the one in France. They had a totally full house. That was great.
Oh yeah.
That was Fernley against Mayo. Yeah.
Hey, and if you go to a WTA challenger, there's a very real chance you'll see Emma Navarro there, which I guess a good deal for the spectator, but seems a little bit unfair to everybody else.
That's right, the WTA 125. So you've got Emma Navarro and you've got Simona Halep playing in that tournament.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't get players that big usually playing, but actually, I almost totally forgot because I went to I said the last tournament I went to Tokyo. Actually, I went to the Hong Kong ATP tournament at the start of the year.
Oh wow,
that was
how was that?
So that was an ATP 250. So that was good actually. Yeah, that was the one where Jerry Shang beat Tiafoe. He got to semifinals and lost to Rublev, but it was a tight match, and that's good. I mean, the stadium is it's a 250, so it's not like massive or anything. It's a nice little intimate stadium, but yeah, in the middle of Hong Kong, it's I recommend going to that. Yeah, it's a cool little tournament, and they have the same on the women's side as well. They still have that. They're doing a 125 now, but they got 250 next month. I think. So Halep and he's going to play that one as well. I think
I got to get on my high horse here.
A few other players.
I got to get my high horse here for a second about the 250s. I saw on Twitter the other day somebody pointed out that the 113th ranked player in the world made like $480,000 or $500,000 over the past season, right? And that sounds like a lot of money. But when you look at the amount of money for every dollar in grossed in tennis that goes to the players, it's lower than every other professional sport, every major professional sport in the world. When you look at what the 113th best soccer player makes, football player, when you look at what the 113th best American football player makes, when you look at what the 113th best basketball player makes, they're all making more than tennis. And so I find, did I lose you?
Yeah, it's just a bit of it was breaking up there. I think maybe you're back now.
Yeah, basically, I was just saying that I think that tennis players are criminally underpaid, and I think it's because of governing bodies that are redundant, that are ineffective, and that don't have their best interests in mind. It actually reminds me quite a bit of the NCAA in American football here. The 113th best tennis player in the world should be making far more money than they are based on just the amount that is grossed by tennis. Every single player that you watch at the professional level is grossly underpaid compared to the value they generate.
Yeah, I believe that is true. It's a shame, and it's also just a shame in the sense that, like, some of these guys at like 100 in the world, they are like elite athletes, but but really you're only talking like maybe the top 70 are actually, or even like only top 50 are really making a proper living, and it's kind of crazy. I know they've tried to increase the prize money a bit for the lower levels, but it's still not enough. And
well, think about go ahead. Think about every major basically, right? So, for the US Open, you've got the USTA, you've got the ITF, you've got the ATP, you've got the WTA. You have all these governing bodies taking a piece. They each have their own comms director, the deputy comms director, executive director, a board, all these things. And so all this money is filtering out to people that aren't the players. And what does it do? It means the players make less money and the fans have a less enjoyable experience because they're jacking up the prices. And so the players and the fans lose out to the redundancy, and I would say the greed of the governing bodies, and also just general like bad decision making. Like, hey, if we've got player parity, which is fantastic, why don't we sync up the WTA and ATP calendar? Wouldn't that be easier? Like there's so many little things that we can do to make a better experience for the fan, for the viewer, and for the players, because happy and healthy players lead to healthier and happier fans. Alcaraz has talked about this quite a bit. The schedule is grueling. It's not sustainable the way that they're going currently.
Yeah, and I don't think enough is done to like promote. I mean, maybe they've tried a bit more recently, but in the sort of challenger level, on both sides. I mean, and then I just think the structure of tennis is pretty confusing in the sense that, like, if you're trying to follow that, like, just the way that, you know, on the women's side, okay, you just have like, you got WTA, and then you've got like those 1-2-5 challengers, and the rest is an ITF. But it's like, if you're just like new to tennis, that's like really confusing, I think. And then it's a different structure on the men's side. It would be much better, if it was all just controlled by, you know, sort of one unified body. I do think that, and you know, they could actually coordinate things much better and just market tennis better for everyone.
Yeah, pay for the coaches, for example. Like the fact, in what other sport that's this big do the players have to pay for their own coaches? Maybe they pay for a supplemental coach outside of the team provided coach, doctor, trainer, nutritionist, etc. But I mean, tennis is just the how little is done for the players remains a great frustration of mine. By the way, looking like we might have a big point coming up here with Sinner and Lehecka. I don't know if Sinner's going to be able to get this break, but it's certainly he's putting the pressure on as the set progresses.
Second serve here I've got for Lehecka at 30-all. And that was a pretty good second serve, but then it's returned well, and Lehecka hits into the net. So first break point for Sinner.
Here we go. God, Lehecka can just crank that serve. Going back though to the tennis, some of the challenges with marketing tennis, making it happen. And one thing I do empathize with is the way the sport works. You know, for in professional football, soccer or American football, you can hype up a game for months sometimes. You know, when the schedules are released. The way that the Champions League work, you get at least several weeks or a week to promote something. You know, for any time that Sinner and Alcaraz are playing in a semifinal or a final, you got like 48 hours to hype it up, and you don't even know when the match is going to start. And so, you know, some of this, I think, if they really wanted to do it right, they would have to change the way that tennis scheduling works as a whole, because if somebody tunes in at, you know, say 2 p.m. to watch the match that they're really looking to see, and the previous match goes three sets, and it starts an hour and a half later, you know, they might have responsibilities or other stuff they got to do. And so it is difficult to plan tennis viewing in a way that is different than every other sport.
Yeah. That's a good hold there from Lehecka. Approaches to the net to take it. Yeah, so those are good points. I mean, I don't know. It's not easy to know what to do about that. I mean, if you're talking about like the scheduling, I don't know if they should just, because there's always the arguments as well about they shouldn't make it go on till late. You know, so late, but obviously they still seem to be doing that at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't know, like people that don't really follow tennis, when I tell them like, oh, there's this match going on just now, they're like, what the hell? It's midnight. They're still playing. It's so strange. There's no other sport like that, right? But
I think I lost you there for a second, Eddie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, there was that great Andy Murray Australian Open match, I think last year, and it was like it finished at 3 a.m. for him, right? And at a certain point, that sort of takes the tennis out of it. That's being able to perform anything at 3 a.m. is unrelated to the skill. And that's just something else, you know?
Yeah, that was something else. Yeah, that was one of the longest matches in Australian Open history.
Yeah.
But I do wonder though, if he, in that situation, if he just said like to the players, do you want to just stop now? Do you think they would have stopped? I'm not too sure.
Oh, that's gonna happen at some point. It's gonna be the end of set 4. It'll be 2:30 in the morning. The two players are gonna look at each other and say, "We're gonna finish this tomorrow," and walk off the court. And then what are they gonna do? They're gonna default them? Come on. They probably will default them, but then that'll further the conversation, right? And so, I know that Djokovic has put together the pro players kind of stand in for a union. I really, really, really hope that we see the kind of collective bargaining progress with the pro players, because they are just getting screwed at every turn here. God, Sinner is just making it look easy. It's still 5-4 here. In theory, this set could go either way, but there's just such a feeling of inevitability with Sinner right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it just makes it look so simple, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And unless he's up against like an I'm still really want to see an Alcaraz Sinner Slam final. We haven't had it yet.
We might not get it for 1 to 2 years, depending on what happens here.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is such a shame. Again, like, everybody loses in the Sinner situation. I mean, look, I hope he didn't dope, but I'm going to be honest, man. I don't really care if he did. I'd rather watch him play than not, Are there going to be special rules for him? Yeah, probably. And there probably should be, because when you can do the stuff that he can do on the court, who are we kidding? We live in the world. Different rules apply when you're the best in the world at something, or top 2 in the world at something, than if you're just somebody else. And that sucks for everybody else, but that's just how it goes.
I mean, but I think people just want there to be consistency in the application of the rules, and they don't feel like there is that. And then it gets confusing because you've got these different bodies with their own interpretations of what should happen, and it becomes very confusing.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are redundant and bleed money from the players, those different governing bodies for doping, like, how is there not one international standard?
Yeah, well, it would make sense for it to be simplified, but I guess there's just a lot of circumstances and yeah, I don't know. I think it can get pretty complicated in terms of like all the different, you're talking about all the different substances that could possibly come up, and then it gets tricky. But
I think, unfortunately,
as I say,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't really call myself an expert in this field. So yeah, I just sort of trying to see what the people that know about it more are actually saying.
I'd love to see in the chat, one, do people think that Sinner should get banned? And if so, what feels like the appropriate length of time? Because one thing that I think is uncomplicated is less money's coming into tennis with Jannik Sinner not playing. Fewer people are showing up to matches if Sinner's not playing. The sport doesn't grow quite as fast as it's growing without him playing. And so, yeah, like, maybe he did it, maybe he didn't, but there are real consequences to him getting banned. And you know what? It's on him. It's on his team. They know the rules. They screwed up. But at the end of the day, it's the fans who I think suffer with the ban there.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if he actually does get banned for certainly 2 years would be really shocking. But
yeah,
I mean, I think maybe they're just saying like 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they just want it to be looked at seriously. But Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but
yeah,
I think even 1 year would be, considering that officially the decision is that there's like no fault or negligence, and it's also slightly different from, you talk about the other like Halep or whatever, but the Halep case, you could say, because that was like an actually, she took some supplements, right? That's what it was, right? So I mean, for Sinner's case, he was just getting a massage, right? That's officially what is recognized, right?
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, I can understand that people would want there to be some kind of punishment. I do understand why people feel like that, because that's kind of the way things have been. But
yeah, Lehecka there with a big forehand. If Lehecka somehow steals the set and takes it 3, I'm gonna feel like such a dummy because I haven't for 1 second watching this match thought this thing was going 3 the way that Sinner is playing. But he's hanging in there. You got to give him credit. He's a young guy, 22. Finding his style a little bit. Earlier in the chat, I saw somebody posted they thought that Rune was really still finding his style. Yeah,
really
right.
nice.
Yeah. Rune's still kind of figuring out who he is as a tennis player. And it reminded me actually a bit of his old coach's Patrick Mouratoglou's video from the other day, where he talked about how talent can be a liability. Talent can be a weakness, because if you're told from a very, very young age, oh, you're talented, that becomes your identity, rather than a hard worker, rather than somebody who finds a way to win even when they're not having a good day. And when I watch Rune, I watch somebody who needs to hear you're talented more than somebody who needs to win. And maybe that's something that with age and with time he'll develop and he'll learn. But right now, I agree. It doesn't seem like he knows who he is on the tennis court beyond somebody who is ultra talented.
And talent is one thing in terms of what is talent. I mean, I think a lot of people, that means skill in terms of your ability with the racket in your hand, but it's also about knowing what to do in terms of like how to play a match, and you've got different opponents as well. I mean, that sort of just comes with a bit of experience, I guess, as well. But some, I guess, some guys are just better at that than others. And but yeah, I mean, for sure, Rune surely has the potential to be a guy that is competing for slams. I mean, I think that is a realistic aim for him, and it's been a bit disappointing from his perspective, which for sure. And I think maybe for a lot of fans that were hoping to see him compete with Sinner. Yeah.
There's physical talent and there's mental talent, right? And they're not always intertwined, right? Rune has every physical gift that a human being could have on a tennis court, and he's just not there yet mentally. The thing is, age and experience can help with the mental. With the physical stuff, you kind of just, to a certain extent, you just get what you get, right? And Rune has that in droves.
Mm-hmm.
It will be interesting to see if he can break through to form that new big three. I personally don't believe that he's going to be the one to do it. I think there are some young players coming up that have a better shot at this point than Rune.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he's doing well now. So he lost that tie break, and he's down a break. But perhaps a chance to break back is at deuce.
Oh, yeah. Fields, I think, is about the same age, maybe a little bit younger than Rune, but Fields looks about 8 years older than he is. Like he physically looks much, much older. And I mean that in a complimentary way. He doesn't look like an old man. He looks like mid to late 20s, strong, fit. He's got the full beard, whereas Rune's got the baby face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he looks like very fit and strong, but he's only 20 as well. I mean, I kind of almost forget about him, but he's just sort of steadily progressing, isn't he? And it'll be interesting to see where he is in a year or two.
You know, him and Luca Van Ash at one point were kind of talked about in the same breath when they first were coming onto the scene. And it seems like Fields has really found his game, has really, found a way to get there. Van Ash, it seems like, is still figuring it out. And that's where, going back to the physical talent, Fields has physical talent that Van Ash just doesn't. And so maybe he can find a way to get there too. But at this level, the differences are so small. I don't know if you listened to Pablo Torre's podcast, but he just did an episode a few weeks ago with Michael Joyce, who at one point in time was Sharapova's coach, who at one point in time was the number 67 player in the world. And he was talking about how stylistically he was very, very similar to Andre Agassi, but he had a split second less timing. He was a little bit smaller physically. And at that level, the difference between 67 and 8 Grand Slams is just itty bitty.
Yeah, that was a great point there. I just saw from Lehecka, and the crowd really liking that one. His net approach there.
Yeah, can we look at it? Look at this this score here. Is Lehecka gonna steal this set, man? he just might. I mean, the fact that he's hanging in there with that first serve percent and then that win percent on his first serve is outrageous. And a bad time double fault from center. I cannot believe that Lehecka has a break right now. Opportunity. And erased.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Lehecka.
What do we think, Eddie? Prediction time. It's 5-all, 40-all, deuce. What's going to happen here?
I think center's going to hold on. Well, let's. Yeah, I feel like he's just going to.
It's one of those things where, like, for a compelling viewing experience, I want to believe that this thing is going to be competitive or go 3. And I just can't lie about this. It just feels so inevitable still, even if another break point comes up here, which it very well might, for Lehecka. Sinner just has this feeling of inevitability still.
Yeah, I mean.
And also, yeah, so in the chat, it was pointed out that, hasn't Sinner won a bunch of tie breaks in a row? Yeah, and his record in tie breaks is fantastic. So Lehecka, if he wants to win, his best chance by far is to get this break here and avoid the tiebreaker.
Oh, that forehand into net. Oh,
what do you think it feels like to win 14 of 15 tie breaks in a row? That is as a hacker, like, that is unimaginable to me. If I won 4 out of 5 in a row, I would be talking that smack to all my buds.
That's crazy. I mean, he's only lost 5 matches all year. I mean, that's out of how many he's played. I mean, ridiculous. But I once won a tiebreak 16-14, and I still remember it, how good it felt.
Wow.
I'm pretty. Oh. But yeah, he just wins. I mean, I guess it's his job, but
oh, real missed opportunity from Lehecka on a serve coming up here. Oh, that's so interesting. Sinner in that, and what was just on the screen, was talking about how his skiing background really shaped him. One of my friends went to see him at the U.S. Open this year, and he talked about in his on-court movement, you can see the skiing influence, because it's like he's cutting and carving in a way that is just a little different, and you can see that he grew up skiing, right? Federer is another player famously that grew up as a very good skier, and I think while skiing clearly worked out for them, I think the point is, cross training is a good thing for sports. At an earlier and earlier age, kids are specializing in one thing, and what's it leading to? It's leading to injuries of attrition and overuse. If you want to be a well-rounded athlete, you're better off not specializing super early, continuing to pursue other interests until a little bit later. I think, we're starting to see a shift back to that, right? Nadal and Alcaraz both play a little bit of soccer. Not as much as they played tennis, certainly as youngsters, but they both, you see him kick a ball around. It's like, okay, yeah, that's the guy who knows what he's doing, who's played a lot of soccer. There is value to developing other muscles, other movements, and you can use it to make you better at tennis rather than having it hinder your development.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, Nadal, someone commenting in the chat, who's an excellent player. Andy Murray played until he was like 14, I think. He took it quite seriously and then decided just to focus on the tennis. So, there's something to be said for that. And Sinner was like a top skier in his country, I think, right, in Italy. So
it's very nice of Sinner, by the way, here to keep this game competitive and going a little longer to create some drama for us. But I think he's about to make it happen.
He's got the advantage now. But is he going to hold on? No, I think it's going to go back to Juice, is it?
see, he's adding a little drama for us. Very considerate of Sinner.
Oh, double fault. My goodness.
Ghost of Garolitis says cross-training going to be easier for kids who have money. Yeah, I mean, look, in the U.S., the youth sports system is horrific. It is expensive. It is difficult. It is inconvenient for parents. And it is a really unfortunate reality that you need, if you want to play travel anything, soccer, baseball, basketball, tennis, you almost have to come from a background with some money. And that's a shame. And that's a policy failure. It is, yet another shortcoming of the USTA that we've made it so difficult for young people to play tennis at a reasonable price point. I think that there are examples. One of the things that the FIFA president has talked about is in many countries around the world, it is free to participate in youth soccer. And many governments support policies that make it free because, again, an active and healthy young person is great it's great, right? And if there are barriers to entry,
Center holds on.
Happen. Yeah, big hold.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I come from a country. I come from Scotland, so it's the main sport is football, soccer. So it was always easy to play that, but I played that a lot.
Was it free to participate in?
Was pretty much, yeah. I mean, because a lot of people play for their schools as well, and that's pretty competitive. And then also, I played for like a local team growing up.
Yeah.
I don't know, was it free? I think I mean, it's not expensive to do that. It wouldn't have been, and certainly, it's just very common. But I mean, tennis was the summer sport. Summer is not too hot in Scotland, so it's a good time actually to play tennis.
We got to get you stateside because it's regularly above 100 in North Carolina, and it is humid as can be. It's brutal. So you have to play basically before 10 a.m. or after 7 p.m. for the bulk of the summer. So our season tends to be spring or fall season.
Right, and that's the same here because I'm in Seoul now. The summer is hot and humid, so actually I've tried it a few times, but playing during the day is just horrendous, and I really just don't understand how professional athletes actually do that. I mean, I know that they train and stuff, but it just seems like torture,
I mean, I unironically think that Jack Draper cannot maintain the level of tennis that he needs to until he moves and starts training somewhere where it is hotter and more humid year round. Like he has had injuries, but a lot of them have been heat related issues. He's got to move to Florida, move to Florida, move to Vegas, move somewhere where it is hot and humid and just get the reps into that temperature because it's a recurring issue. And he's got all the talent in the world. But he can't put it together right now.
He's still based in London, I think, right? He's just based or in England, right? So yeah, he should really be thinking about that. Of course, I think that's what Andy Murray did. He ended up making Miami his his spot for training.
Miami, I mean, I lived in Miami for a little bit back in the day. I mean, it's a great city, but also like it is hot year round. Vegas, I've spent some time in, but haven't lived there. It's hot, but you don't have the humidity, and I think the heat isn't the issue. I think it's the humidity for these guys, and so I think that's a great place to train. Yeah, Dave in the chat pointed out that in Austin it's brutal, and he's right. I mean, Texas is another great home base. There's also no state income tax if that's a thing they're worried about. I know a lot of players live in Monaco in the off season. I believe that's where Tsitsipas is. That's where Borg was. And so, yeah, like if you want to play at the highest level, you got to find a way to adjust to the heat.
I mean, that is also something that they should actually think about in tennis as well. Like, I mean, I think obviously most of the tour across the season, you know, they thankfully don't have to play like in those conditions all the time, but but you do see sometimes, like especially on the Challenger Tour, like there's just, you know, there's tournaments going on all the way around the world all the time, and sometimes it's just in absolutely brutal conditions.
Well, you know, you see it at every level of tennis too, right? Like some players are better equipped for cooler weather, some are better equipped for hotter weather, and I think a lot of that just has to do with, you know, what you're born with, but some of it's based on where you lived and where you live and where you're training. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Nope.
2 points. 30 out.
I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say that Lehecka needs to get his first serve percentage up. You know, the fact that he's been able to battle the way that he has, making 41% of his first serves, is a testament to his talent. But that's just not going to get it done against the world number one.
That was a good serve, though, to get to 40-30, and he gets a big applause there. I think maybe the crowd want to see a third set, don't they?
I think so. I mean, I get it, right? Like if you're paying to see Jannik Sinner, like get an extra set if you can. If Lehecka's parents are there, I believe they're the only people in the audience that actually believe he's going to win this match, though. Like, do his coaches really think he's going to win this match?
I mean, they could win by like retirement. Oh,
the lies we tell ourselves are important, and so you know maybe you got to tell yourself you can win before you can actually win. And I'm sure that's what his coaches are doing. I'm sure that's what he's doing too. But this set, you know, out of 4 sets that Lehecka has now played against Sinner, is by far his strongest result. You know, his previous best was losing 2 sets 6-3 at Indian Wells. Oh, okay.
Oh
yeah. So in the chat, it's been brought up that have we discussed John's big date last night? I maybe I missed that, Eddie, if you monologued on that, but I don't believe that we have. So I just want to say, John, hope it went well. We're all rooting for you.
And we're into a tie break, and well, perhaps there's like a 14 out of 15 chance that the Sinner's going to win this. But makes things interesting for the moment. I've only just realized that Talking Tennis is now 10,500 subscribers. I think that's what it's at, which is good to get over that 10,000 mark.
Oh yeah. And hey, if you're listening or you're watching this after the fact and you're not subscribed, press the button. You like this. We're an hour and 35 minutes in. This is good content. Subscribe. Oh, one just went up. Peer pressure. Subscribe, please.
Second serve for Sinner.
Eddie, what do you think is going through Lehecka's head right now? Is he just turning off the noise, or is he strategizing? What do you think he's thinking at this moment?
I mean, you like you said before, I think he's really hoping that he's just going to be making first serves and then working from there, getting some good serves in. I mean, look at the way Sinner just stepped up there, though. That absolutely just pounded that forehand there.
But I'm hoping in the chat that we can explain what a biomechanics coach is, because I'm not 100% sure that I know. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that episode, by the way, with Sabalenka's biomechanics coach, exclusive to Talking Tennis.
I guess he was helping her with her serve.
Oh.
And hey, obviously Sabalenka's coach must be doing something right, because she's been tremendous this year.
Going back to physical talent, I mean, again, if you walked by Arena Sabalenka on the street, you would say that is a pro athlete.
Oh, look at that drop shot. Yeah, that's just beautiful. But I mean, he's good at that as well, Sinner. But you know, he can do that consistently. And it might not be as spectacular as the, you know, some of the drop shots that Alcaraz does, but it's still effective.
Oh. This is turning into an actually pretty good. I mean, look, Eddie, I was pleased to get the chance to meet you and to talk about this match together. And I always love being on Talking Tennis. Thought I was going to be here for about 30 minutes and might need to clear the schedule here. I mean, Lehecka is hanging in there.
Mm-hmm.
Can we create some drama? Do we believe that? I just said it and I'm not sure I believe it. I don't know.
Oh, that second serve, though, from Sinner, I mean, it was quite pacey, but it was right in the middle of the box and allowed Lehecka a bit of time to get that back. So,
I mean, Lehecka got the mini break back here. So it's on track.
oh, yep, second serve. So that was a better second serve.
I mean,
decent
the
return
tension
from Lehecka. Oh,
it's a bad miss.
Yeah, I mean, but can't do that much if you're going to hope to win this tie break.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will say, I mean, look, he's still hanging in there. They're on serve. You know, the longer a player hangs in there against someone like a Sinner, the more confidence I think they build, right? And going into the match, does it feel like, yes, I can win 2 sets against this guy? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If he's being honest with himself, probably shouldn't think that. But can he win 4 out of the next 6 points? Yeah, sure. That can happen. That's tennis, right?
Yeah, I mean, at 3-3 now, yeah, it is within reach, especially if he wins this next point. But
I'm pulling for Lehecka. Come on, let's get a third set. I'm having fun. I think the people in the chat are having fun. Let's get a third set here. Let's do it.
What's happening in the... Oh, yeah, we've already got the Rublev against Boost already started. Boo in a pressure in his first service game, not Juice.
I'm going to make a crazy prediction. Whoever wins this match, it doesn't matter because Rublev is winning in the next round. Rublev is finding his form. He's He's calming his demons a little bit for a minute, and I think that he's going to win the whole thing.
That's bold prediction there. So you think Rublev's going to take out? Well, probably center, right?
Yeah, I do.
Bold.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
So for my day job, I work in politics. And one of the things that I've learned from that is when you're a pundit, you can just say dumb stuff and there's just no accountability. And that very well could be an instance of just saying dumb stuff. But I really do think that Rublev's level is solid right now. If he can, he's got all the talent in the world. He's got such a weapon with that forehand. And the outbursts that we were seeing in the spring and summer seem to have at least somewhat calmed down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this thing's about to be over. The second set, that is, before we go to a third.
Oh
yeah,
and it goes long. Jannik.
Ho, ho, ho. All right. Look. Lehecka here. He's got the mini break. He's got a 45% first serve make rate and is still somehow hanging in there. Anything could happen. I can't believe it's this close. I can't believe we might be going 3. I still, even at 5-4 in the breaker, don't think we're going 3.
Oh, it's out there, so it's back to 5-4 for Lehecka, but let's see. Does he have the mental strength here to see it out? Someone mentioned in the chat before that they don't think he'll be able to make the top 10, Lehecka, because of his... Yeah, he's not been very good in big moments, but let's see.
Thing is, it's not like, for like Kyrgios is not going to be top 10 again, right? But Lehecka, he's 22, right? He's got time to figure it out. You think about how young that is. We're also seeing more and more, I think, late bloomers or folks that kind of have late career resurgences. Here we go. 2 set points for Lehecka.
Yeah,
and he still can't make a first serve.
That backhander there from center, that was a little bit, seemed a little bit desperate almost. Like, I don't know, he just kind of
lacking juice, if you will.
But a little bit rash, though.
Yeah. I think Lehecka can make the top 10. I don't think he can make the top 5. I think he's got a ton of talent, and also tennis is weird like this. Like sometimes it's just getting the right draws, it's picking the right tournaments, getting lucky in a 250 or a couple 250s. Casper Ruud, there's that one year where I think he won 5 or 6 250s, right? And so
well, 1 set point saved, so top 5 in quads, says Super Dave. Yeah, fair enough.
Well, here we go. 6-all in the breaker. 6-all in the breaker.
I'm assuming that's... Yeah, I was assuming it was going to be a good serve. Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be the difference, right? Is Jannik is bailing himself out with his serve continually, and Lehecka is almost battling against his serve. He just got to get that first serve percentage up. I mean, it's right there. It's staring us in the face.
Ghosty says Lehecka has a nice neck too. I don't know how crucial that is in tennis, but maybe you're...
What is the optimal tennis neck? I don't know. Lehecka's got it though, probably.
15 out of 16 tiebreak wins for Jannik. That's crazy. I mean, that goes back to because that kind of ratio. That
look at this graphic. Oh man, I think that the center neck is probably better for tennis, right? Like you want to be kind of like a lean guy, especially at this point, it's practically an endurance sport. We get the match point for center coming up here. Let's see if Lehecka gets a friggin' first serve in.
You need to be flexible, right? You don't want to be too.
Oh no, another missed first serve from Lehecka on match point. Just
yeah, center's going to take this surely.
Yep, that's it. There we go. Pretty good match, all things considered. A pretty good second set. I mean, if you're Lehecka, you can build on that performance, right? If he does nothing else and then increases his first serve percentage, he very well might have gone to 3 with the world number 1. That's a solid performance. I think center at moments seemed to get a little tight, seemed to spray the ball, not tight, but he was spraying the ball a touch more than he normally does.
Yeah.
But also, everything that makes him the world number 1 was apparent throughout that whole set.
Yeah, ultimately he was the more composed player overall than Lehecka, and I mean, especially that first set, there wasn't much of a contest. Credit to Lehecka for making it a contest in that second set.
Yeah,
he did give it a go, but ultimately when it came down to that tiebreak, there was that point as well that we were talking about. He sprayed that forehand. You probably, if you want to win a tiebreak against center, you can't even make any mistakes like that. So,
ooh, Eddie, we got a question for you, which is, what's the coffee like in Korea?
This is a really funny question. Coffee is actually quite good in Korea now, so I'm going to say that, which is strange because I feel like coffee arrived here later. But nowadays, you get pretty good coffee in Korea. A lot of, I think that's just from competition. There's so many coffee places now, and it's kind of trendy. So, yeah. So I actually, I went to New York recently. Wasn't overly impressed with the coffee, I have to say. So I don't know if that's an American or New York issue, but it was.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for us, it's the caffeine delivery mechanism more than it is like a drink to be savored. As I'm looking at these stats, really, really impressive work from Lehecka on his second serve. Sinner was totally dominant on his first serve, points won. It's what are you doing?
Similar ratio there, isn't it? 15 winners to 23 errors there for Sinner, but ultimately slightly better. Probably for him, but and the first serve percentage is there quite different, and then first serves 79%. I mean, those much bigger differential actually in those serving stats, which is surprising, like you said, that Lehecka was able to keep it so close. But
I mean, it seems like the only way that he was able to hang in there is because of that, how strong he was doing on his second serve. His return rating was far weaker. He didn't get a single break. His first serve make rate wasn't high enough. And I just like, I'm really impressed by Lehecka's ability to hang in there when there were things that he needed to do to win that he wasn't doing well. Also, if you scroll down there, you see the max serve speed, 141. Can't teach 141 mile an hour serve. That's a big serve. That's heat. I think if physically a machine made me hit a 141 mile an hour serve, my arm would fly off, or I would tear every single thing that there is to tear in my shoulder.
So Sinner is going to go through, and he will be playing the winner of Rublev or Bu. That looks to be still on serve, 2-all, and it's about to be 3-2. It looks like to Rublev. So you would expect Rublev to get through that one, and I think that's going to be the first. I mean, I'm not sure that I would go as far as saying that he's going to win that match against Sinner if he does get through, like you would. But I feel like it's going to be the first real test for Sinner to sort of see really where he is with this game. I mean, because it wasn't like a completely, you could say Sinner could have played better today, but he got through nonetheless. And obviously dropped sets in the first 2 matches. So
I mean,
let's see if he can step it up.
Yeah, if Sinner plays like that against Rublev, he's going to lose that match. At Rublev's levels, it's solid right now. I think while I made the prediction that Rublev is going to win, like, I don't know, would I bet my house on that? Probably not. But I do think he's got what it takes. And at a certain point, we talked about this a few times over the course of the last hour, like at some point in time, you got to imagine Sinner's going to feel the pressure. He's going to feel the shift in how the fans feel towards him or how his fellow players do, because while people want to see him play and while the game I think is better off with him in it, it's not like he is universally being supported right now, and that takes a toll on everybody. Can we just get a quick check-in on the Fields rune score?
Oh, it's on serve in the second set there.
Oh, it's good for Rune for getting it back on track.
Yeah, it's just a question because I feel like Feast. That could go to another tiebreak, couldn't it? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. We got a question in the chat.
So, I still think overall positive though in terms of just for Sinner to get through in straight sets because he hadn't done that yet. So it's progress in that respect. Could someone live in Korea without speaking any Korean, do you think? Yeah, I guess for a while, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend just not like speaking at all. But I mean, because certainly you can learn the Korean alphabet very easily, so that's a good start for you.
I kind of would go a step further and say, just if you're gonna live somewhere, it's good to learn the language no matter where that is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think maybe he's just asking like, people come here as tourists and they do fine. I don't think they don't necessarily know the language, so yeah, you could do it for a while, but yeah, you should learn the language if you're going to live somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is. Yeah.
Another question we got was that I mentioned earlier the fans. And this from Ghost of Gerolitis. By the way, Vitas Gerolitis, one of the most criminally underrated players in the modern world. We've not talked about nearly enough. Really, really fun player. So love that username. What percentage of fans do we think are anti-Sinner? Right now, I think that it is majority are pro. I would say probably like 3 out of 4 are pro Sinner, but also that's because most people, like most human beings, are not experts on this stuff. And so we don't really know what's going on. I also think, like, I look at Jannik Sinner and I think to myself, does that look like a guy who is doing stuff to his body that is cheating? And the answer is no, because he's a string bean, right? If he was like muscled out of his head, it would feel easier to believe. And so I think weirdly him just being so scrawny kind of works for him in keeping people on his side. So I think probably 3 out of 4 are with him. As more stuff comes out, maybe that'll change. Probably not, because I also think at the end of the day, most people just kind of want to see somebody who's really good at tennis playing tennis. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, but I guess he doesn't really look like someone that's taking like steroids, right? But I mean, I don't know. There's different reasons why people take them. I mean, it's sort of to help their body rebuild as well. And I don't know, like, I mean, officially he's not been recognized as having intentionally doped. So,
yeah.
I mean, supposedly there's been an independent tribunal and everything. So, yeah, I'm just really just curious, like, what's going to happen though now, because it's just, I think either way, like even if, I mean, let's say he does get banned, obviously for a certain amount of period, that's going to be a big deal. And if he doesn't, then I know there's going to be a lot of reaction to that as well. You know, from certain people especially. So
if I'm pro tennis, I want him banned for like 3 months from like right now until the start of the Australian Open. And then I want him back for the warm-up tournament and then the Australian Open. And it's like, see, accountability, but like he didn't really do anything. And then also he didn't miss anything that matters. Like once he starts missing majors, that's just such a bummer.
Yeah, so I heard that it might not be wrapped up until February, but I don't know. That was just sort of a
interesting
thing that I saw, which would be after the Australian Open.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's obviously not great to have that hanging over your head.
I mean, I sure hope that we get a Sinner Alcaraz match then, because in all seriousness, we might not get one for a long time.
Oh, but can you imagine if Sinner backs up his win because he has to defend his title, the Australian Open, and then gets banned? That would be.
I saw a tweet from a Sinner Stan account, and I really don't care for any of the Stan accounts. No matter, like I have players I like more than others, but they're bad content. And somebody's saying, "Oh, it's only Djokovic fans that are rooting for Sinner to get banned, and it's because they think that he's going to beat that his Australian Open record." And it's like, my man, the dude is 9 wins away from tying the record. Like those kinds of claims are so outrageous, and like I don't know how you feel about the Stan accounts, but they drive me nuts.
I saw that. Yeah, of course there's we've already got the huge army of stands for Alcaraz and Sinner and whatnot. You don't have to worry about the big three being over. The stands are clearly out in full force now. I mean, there's just. I mean, on Twitter, it can get a little bit crazy out there anyway now.
Yeah.
People will just say whatever they want.
On my screen, I've switched over to the Rublev Boo match for a little bit, just to check in. And I got to tell you, Boo's outfit, the drip is much nicer. Rublev's a little muted for my taste. I like it a little louder, but I'm digging the get up from Boo in a big way.
Yeah. So Jannik's, he's got. I mean, yeah, it's quick conditions, isn't it, in Beijing? So
yeah.
I mean that. It's good for both these guys, Rublev and Boo. I mean, Boo has a good first serve. It's been surprising how well. I mean, it's been kind of expected him to sort of make the transition to the top 100 or towards the main tour, because he's been doing pretty well in the challengers, and he's obviously young, but he's got much better. But it's been a really good Chinese swing for him. So.
Yeah,
for him to, I mean, I don't think he's going to win this, but if he does win it, I mean, that makes things much easier, I think, for Sinner. I would definitely expect Sinner to win that match. But Rublev,
very cheeky drop shot there from Rublev. That's how you know he's in a flow state.
So are we... Obviously, we're on here for Sinner and Lehecka. Are we going to wrap up this stream?
I think, unfortunately, it is 9:17 a.m. my time, and I have to go do my job, regretfully. Okay. So I gotta bounce in a moment here. But just want to say to John, and thanks for having me on. Eddie, pleasure meeting you. If you're ever stateside, let's get a hit in, maybe go to a tournament. And to everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much for engaging as always. Some really good questions as per usual, and some good nuggets of tennis wisdom in there too.
Yeah, thanks. It's been good to chat with you. Probably not going to be in the US anytime soon, but one day maybe. But then, yeah, it's been interesting chat, and it's been interesting moment in tennis for Sinner. And we'll look forward to his next match, which will probably be against Rublev, but we'll see. That's the semi-final tomorrow, and then we've got Medvedev and Alcaraz, so we'll look forward to that.
And subscribe. Right, guys.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Hit like and subscribe.
Later.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.